It's my feel-good breakfast show.
You can see on that face, he knows it's a long weekend and he hopes that you're savoring it. You're not sitting in here working like he is. No, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're at home or getting ready to go to work. We really appreciate you. And it's that time where we have to connect. I hope you were one of the people able to turn this into a super long weekend and kind of tap out and just soak up this morning. But that doesn't mean you must stop focusing on the news. And there has been a lot to keep up with. Obviously, it's been a very busy week for the country and for the world, and an opportunity for us now to catch up with news editor Roy Simpson, who has to do this every day. So thank you for spending your off day. Do you ever take a day off? No, can't.
It's sometimes just take a whole block off to make up for all the days you missed along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next year is your year
Look,
off.
it helps that this is something you're passionate about, so we can kind of call it work, we can kind of call it just you, just being you, Roy doing his thing.
Yeah.
It's his calling, his destiny.
I remember in high school, I thought I really wanted a job where part of my job was to sit and read the newspaper. I achieved it.
And tell people how to think about it. Please.
I like that. Listen, let's talk about the latest that's going on. I see some crazy stuff with South Africa. We in, then we out, we in, then we out, and I'm listening to the news with regards to the International Criminal Court and the warrant that was set out for Vladimir Putin, and us deciding to stand out and step away from this. What's going on?
But then not.
And then deciding, okay, no, actually, I'm going to take that statement back.
Exactly. So this is the thing.
Ramaphosa's like in and out. He's hot cold today.
What do you call a double U-turn? Like
Yes, exactly, the rope-a-dope.
So if you've missed out on sort of the background to this, the Finnish the president of Finland comes to visit the country. It's a state visit. Remember, his country joined NATO like 3 weeks ago, just over 3 weeks ago, because of fear and distrust of Vladimir Putin's Russia. So now he's standing next to our president. The two of them are together. There's a Q&A session with the media, and the question comes up. You have Vladimir Putin with this warrant of arrest out for him from the International Criminal Court. You also have the BRICS summit coming up in Durban in August, to which he is invited. What is the solution?
What you gonna do?
And our president says, well, actually, we've found a way out. What the ANC has decided is we're going to leave the International Criminal Court. And there it is. I mean, this is globally reported over the course of the next 2 hours. I saw reports in India, Australia, America, everywhere. Fikile Mbalula, as the Secretary-General of the ANC, comes out. He does a press conference where he explains the rationale and the thinking behind leaving the International Criminal Court.
It wasn't a faux pas, a wrongly written script, or it was an intentional move.
It seems that way, because then you have Vincent Magwenya coming out in the late afternoon, in fact, in the evening. He's the presidency spokesperson, and he says, no, uses words like erroneously and regrettably repeats the error. He's basically saying that, no, the resolutions that were taken by the ANC were to rescind the decision to withdraw, to look for other legal ways to do this, and failing the opportunity to find another legal way out of this, then we withdraw. But yeah, basically saying that the president of our country stood in front of an international press gallery and said something that's not true. It's very weird.
Absolutely terrifying. So it almost begs the question, what do we do? Because it doesn't feel like we've got a clear idea of how to actually deal with this. And it almost feels like a bit of an impossible situation. So how do we navigate this?
It is a bit of an impossible situation, in as much as we seem to regret going into the International Court. Don't forget that America, so for example, the US Ambassador Ruben Brigitte was making a speech in the UKZN, saying that they're not pressuring South Africa to arrest Putin. Of course they're not. They're not signatories to the Rome Statute. Russia's not a signatory. China's not a signatory. Those are the three countries who've been carrying out most of the war crimes.
The heavy hitters,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So it makes sense that we feel that it's a bit of a failure and we want to be out of it. But we're not out of it. We domesticated that into our own law. It's part of our law now. And here's the kicker. It takes 12 months to exit the ICC.
Oh, wow.
You can hand in your resignation.
So it's all kind of a moot point anyway. We're going to have to deal with Putin.
Got to make a decision,
I think the thinking is that if we say we're going to pull out, then we can legitimately kind of skip the rules and go, look, we're leaving anyway.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of grey area here. I know. A lot of grey area. But it's politics. So there should be all grey area, I understand that. One very positive piece of news that I'm dying to find out more about in light of our celebration of Freedom Day yesterday and the freedom of expression. It seems that we've seen a bit of a U-turn in Uganda right now. Is there a bit of traction there to this? We'll find out in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Roy Simpson is back to chew on the gristle of this week, and some really important news. Of course, yesterday, during our own Freedom Day celebrations, we really did hone in on the freedom of expression, which is not available to everybody everywhere right now, which is terrifying when you think of how far we've come in this space. Uganda has been making all of the headlines with some terrifying legislation, and it feels like a line in the sand that's been drawn and now possibly moved. What is going on when it comes to this community's representation in Uganda right now? Because it felt like we were taking about a 30-year step backwards.
We've also got a bit of a U-turning thing happening there, a flip-flopping thing with Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni. 8 days ago, the suspicion, we knew that the bill was going to be sent back to Parliament, but just over a week ago, the impression that he was saying was that he needed the bill strengthened. And so we thought that it was going to become even more draconian. So somewhere in the interim, it seems he's had a discussion with the legal consultants around the constitutionality of all these things they're trying to bring in, anti-LGBTQ. And what's been told to us is that they're going to separate the concept of being gay, identifying as gay, versus any acts
the act of
expression. So that was the problem, was you weren't even allowed to identify or speak about a sort of a homosexual lifestyle or any other kind of deviant lifestyle, as Museveni is insisting on framing it. Now you're allowed to talk about it, you're just not allowed to do it, which is still a problem. The other big change is that you're no longer, as a citizen, going to be obligated to report any acts that you come across. Because remember, I said, for example, that landlords would face jail sentences if they rented out property to someone suspected of being gay. So it is an improvement. It's only taken us back 20 years instead of 30 years.
Instead of the 30. Absolutely terrifying. And we speak directly to that community every day and understand how much of a ripple this sends. And it might be happening in Uganda, but it affects the LGBTQ community across the world. But hopefully it's also brought a groundswell of support. But it's mind-boggling that this is still where we are. Can I just ask one question, Relate? Why is this such a watershed topic in that part of the world? Is there a religious connotation in terms of his power base? Why is it so extreme, and why has it become so politicized there?
It's such an interesting question. Traditionally, the answer is that you have these American directly imported charismatic churches driving this agenda. But I've seen really interesting research done over the last couple of years suggesting that the thing is that found fertile ground. That message sprouted and spread, which suggests that there is something inherent and endemic and historical in Ugandan society that is opposed to this lifestyle, and it may date back to the colonial laws.
It's the woke people. Everyone's too woke is now angering everyone. Just stop being so woke. Just for 2 seconds. Just
Look, maybe to turn things into a little bit more of a positive spin, if this even is. I noticed the iconic Barbie that we've known for so many years has done something pretty interesting. I don't know if it's going to be as impactful as I hope, but they've just included what I believe is a Down syndrome version of Barbie representing a person with Down syndrome. This is cool.
That's brilliant.
Firstly, I think to myself, why has this not happened years ago? And at the same time, I'm like, yes, I can celebrate this. This is awesome. Representing another potential minority, let's say that. But what is your take on this? Why is this happening now?
Why is it happening? I think we've managed to reach some kind of critical mass, some kind of inflection point where it is now viable, economically viable for a for-profit company like Mattel to do this kind of virtue signaling. And that's really important. We've achieved this. We've created a culture where it makes economic sense to be progressive. And that's something we should celebrate.
Oh, completely, because, I mean, we live on this line, this commercial line. and it doesn't get there very often. Very, very seldom do commercial and the heart kind of meet in an authentic place. But I think a good way to think about this is think of how many Down syndrome children are playing with Barbies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If there is one, they need a doll that represents them.
Correct.
Simple as
And I
that.
mean, Barbie is the gold standard.
Yeah.
They've got the movies, they've got the series happening on TV.
Yeah.
This is part of
Transcends
culture.
generations.
Absolutely. and so when you're playing with dolls, I mean, we had the Sibahle range that was launched here in South Africa in
Yes,
2018. That made such an impact. They couldn't make those things fast enough. They were selling
That
out.
is phenomenal.
Oh,
it's so cool.
So
Imagine
there's
if you're a young
that's a
girl with
vitiligo
vitiligo.
Barbie with the skin condition, wheelchair Barbies. All of these things have happened since 2015, that all these diversity Barbies have come out. The range has expanded massively. And yes, it allows people who otherwise would be questioning, am I... Because children learn by observation of reality.
completely.
Yes,
And
of
if you're
course.
told, of course you belong, but all of your dolls are white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, perfect,
Where do
then
you
you
fit
start
in?
thinking, oh, but
I
I
don't.
don't belong.
Yep.
And I mean, that's echoed just by advertising in general. We
Yes.
tell a child exactly what economic status they are, where they come from, their level of intellect.
Yeah.
The advertising and the commercial space have a massive role to play. And the fact that we're now forcing them to, by economy, that it makes financial sense to do this is amazing. So that's the market. So well done, you, the market, for maturing. We absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
Roy, you're a
Thank you so
man.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.